Hello, all you pretty little people. This is the Pretty Little Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Chad. With me is just Jess.
Hello.
And we have a special guest today that I think you should introduce.
Me?
Since you know her better than I do.
It's my mommy.
It is.
It's my tiny little mommy sitting over there. Oh my goodness. She's joining us for a special episode.
Yeah, Jessica's mom, Cheryl, is with us to talk about our topic today. Hello, Cheryl.
Hello.
I'm so tickled, Chad, earlier this week or a couple days ago when we decided we were going to do this.
Right. So right off the bat, this is going to be a discussion about David Lynch, who passed away recently, very recently.
Very recently.
And we found out about this through a text message from Cheryl.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I believe all three of us have a fondness for David Lynch, even though he's not really the most cohesive storyteller. He
was a unique visionary, man.
Right. I think we should start by just discussing how did we find out about David Lynch?
My tiny mommy over there told me.
Okay, so Cheryl, what was your first experience with this wonderful weirdo known as David Lynch?
That would be Eraserhead.
Eraserhead. That's a lot of people's first. It's either Eraserhead or Twin Peaks. Yeah.
I'm a lot older than you are.
Now, did you see this when it was like fairly new? Was it?
To be honest, I don't even remember if we went and saw it, like it possibly late night at the Granada. And then, when VHS was the hot newest thing and we practically mortgaged ourselves to buy a VCR.
Yeah, I didn't know that was like so expensive and well, as a kid, I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know.
Yeah, the first one was like $800.
Oh my God.
Back then, that was several months rent.
No, I remember our first VHS player that we got from Walmart of all places, and my mom had to put it on layaway.
Yep,
because it was about $800, I think.
And movies were almost 100. I think Elephant Man, which was one of the first movies that we bought.
Yeah.
I think it was like $100 back then.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
the very first VHS I bought was Michael Jackson Moonwalker. And yes, I think it was like $80 or something. Yeah, it was.
So that's probably why you and my dad made all those tapes for me of various movies and music videos that formed so much of, honestly, my personality moving forward as a kid, is because it was all really expensive.
It was.
But I didn't know. I didn't know that most people didn't have VCRs. So.
I didn't either.
Honestly. I didn't understand my own privilege. Or my parents perhaps not making the best choices.
I didn't understand rentals. Like
Blockbuster?
Right. When I was real little and we would go to Blockbuster or whatever and we would rent a movie, it didn't make sense to me because I thought we were buying the movie and taking it home and then we were just taking it back.
Like, why? Why do I like this?
Yeah, exactly. Same with video games. I didn't understand, in retrospect, I should have been aware because, the rental price was probably
what a steal.
But okay, so Eraserhead was your first experience. Mm-hmm. Twin Peaks.
Well, yeah, I would imagine you probably didn't think Eraserhead was super suitable for like a small child.
No, but I have no idea whether or not your dad let you watch it.
No, I didn't see that for a very long time. Yeah, I grew up with Twin Peaks and stuff like that.
Twin Peaks was much less disturbing.
It's weird in all the right ways. I do need to give a shout out to Agent Cooper, our heron, our metal art piece that you and I found in a junk shop in New Orleans.
Yes, we have this giant metal bird.
Yeah, he's about 4 feet tall.
Yeah, we named him Agent Cooper.
Yeah, he gets his Santa hat at Christmas.
He does. My first experience with David Lynch would have been Twin Peaks, but at the time I wasn't aware because my parents were watching the show. So when that show was on, I was like, 9 years old or something. I was very young when that show, and it didn't appeal to me at all, but I remember hearing the theme song.
That's what I was going to say. Really, my first experience with anything related to David Lynch is that Angelo, what's his name? Badalamenti, yeah. Laura Palmer's theme, that yes. The song. If you know Twin Peaks at all, you know what I'm talking about.
He has worked with David Lynch on many different projects throughout his career. But as far as I am aware of David Lynch, it happened in high school with Lost Highway. That was like my first film of his that I watched that I was just getting into learning who directors were, and movies were more than just like ridiculous shit happening on the screen. There were people behind the scenes making these things work, and that's when I was getting into I liked this movie. Let me go and see what other movies these people have done. Yeah. And David Lynch was among the first. Paul Thomas Anderson was another one with Boogie Nights around that time. But yeah, after seeing Lost Highway, I went back. I saw Eraserhead for sure. This was around the time when I consider myself quite the artist, and I was moving.
I'm sure you were insufferable.
Yeah. I was moving away from all the like the Ninja Turtles and the things like that. I was moving into a different, more adult part of my life, and getting into film and things like that with my friends. And yeah, Lost Highway was a big deal when it came out. Mainly, if not for nothing else, the soundtrack alone was like in everybody's CD player. Every time a friend of mine would pick me up in their car, they were listening to it. Everybody had that soundtrack. It was.
We had very different friends.
Yeah. And to this day, that soundtrack is very good. I mean, there's a lot of Nine Inch Nails, some Rammstein. It's very of the time. Like the movie itself is whatever, but the soundtrack is like a time capsule of 1997.
I think one of his movies I probably saw was his Dune, which again, people who know, he didn't really want to do that. He did that so he could get funding for his passion projects and stuff like that.
Right. So
I have a fond place in my memory for that, though.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it had issues.
Baron Harkonnen's so fucking gross, man. And Sting. Oh, God, I hate him so much in that Speedo.
Well, so offensive. And Dune was a big deal when it came out.
Yes, it was.
I had a coworker that was, a little older than me, and he remembers when that came out and being a huge thing.
What was it like for you, Mom?
Well, I didn't read all of the Dune books. I had, I think, the first 4, but I had read them and read them and read them. So when it came out and I found out that he was the one going to direct it, I was like really excited about it. And I thought he did the sandworms well.
Yeah. Sure.
And I did like a lot of the, I think the thing I like about him is, I don't really want to use the word visionary, but he takes you and he moves your consciousness into this weird in-between place to where it's not meditation, but it's also not really this world. And you're never really sure where you are or what your perspective is supposed to be. And so you kind of have to just let go of everything.
Right.
And then
go along for the ride and trust he has you.
Well, except that's usually when the really,
You can curse. I see you. It's okay.
No, when the really intense, dissonant music is going to happen, oh my God.
I thought you were going to say this is when the really fucked up shit.
Yeah, his style is very much just insanity that is just directed. Enough rooted in reality. I mean, obviously, his movies to me, they just kind of feel like a stream of consciousness in a lot of ways.
It's a very dream state type.
It seems to me like they all start off as a movie with a setup. It's going somewhere, and then he insists on roadblocking himself throughout with this thing over here, or this conspiracy, or what's going on. Like he definitely deviates.
There's the lady in the radiator.
Yeah. Right. Yes. That's a great example. Where it just becomes this weird non sequitur thing that happens that it never comes up later. It's just
it just exists in this world at that moment.
Right.
Or is she saving him from himself?
Yeah.
You'll never know.
Well, yeah, a lot of his stuff is really, they're excellent conversation pieces.
Yeah.
Because you very rarely get solid proof one way or the other. And he typically did not like to answer those type of questions. He's like, well, what do you get out of it? What do you see?
Right. I mean, at an early age, he started out as a fine artist. He was doing paintings, things like that. And then from an interview that I had seen that he was given, he had mentioned that, like, to him, film is just like moving paintings.
Right.
Right. And very much to him, he was just making a painting, directing a film.
Well, and that is another thing. We talked about the music a little bit, but it really is an entire encapsulated experience. He thinks of every aspect of what is going on. And the way he uses music, the way he uses the background, these different...
Lots of negative space, lots of darkness, ethereal music and sounds, because, he's also... a painting. Yeah, he's also done music. He's got a couple albums that he put out that... I mean, as far as music goes, it's fine, I guess. It's not more... your
particular...
No, I like it. But if you're expecting to listen to it and get like a number one out of it or something you'd hear on the radio, that is not where this is headed.
That perfectly tracks with everything about him.
Right. It's more art than it is music, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Sure.
But it is listenable. It is, haunting and funny, and just like his films, or just like the man himself, it's very enigmatic.
Yeah, there was an innate kindness to him, though. I mean, this is obviously, I never met the man. I didn't actually know him, but one of the things that I immediately thought of all that he's done, when I got the text from Mom that he had died, and I was talking to you about it, is this bonus feature on whatever. I don't remember what
Inland
it was.
Empire.
Thank you. You know what I'm talking about. Where he teaches you how to make quinoa.
Right.
Although he calls them the little quinoas. And he's like, they're bubbling away, these little quinoas. And
he's just smoking and talking to somebody who's interviewing him. And during the interview, he's cooking quinoa on the stove.
So he teaches you all about it.
Yeah, he goes off on a side quest to go take care of that.
Yes.
It seems to me like he gets distracted. And then when he's in the middle of something, he comes up with another idea, and somehow, whether it relates to the story he's telling or not, he makes it fit.
But it's not shoehorned in either. It somehow works.
Oh, it's shoehorned in, but like you said, it does work.
It's like, take a left here.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Let's go see what's happening in the radiator.
It's a discovery for sure.
And then we'll get back to this. But I don't know exactly what it is about his movies that work for me, because when you watch something like Inland Empire is probably his most incoherent film, in my opinion.
I will freely admit that there's several of his projects that I'm just like, I don't.
You can watch that movie 100 times.
I don't know what I'm watching.
And come up with 100 different reasons that movie exists.
I don't think I've seen that one.
We can watch it.
Yeah, we do own it. It is hard to get through because it's very slow. It's very, in a lot of ways, pointless.
But that may be the intention.
Oh, sure. For sure. Everything that you're seeing in a David Lynch film is extremely intentional.
Right.
Whether it matters or not, it's intentional.
Well, it mattered to him in that moment enough to put it in, so.
Right. I also have gone back and watched a lot of his college films, short films, that were they definitely were more moving paintings, those types of things with, like I said, just kids saying the ABC. So he had a video that was just the alphabet that he animated through his paintings with children singing the alphabet in the background, things of that nature. And
what is the monkey one? It's called What Would Jack Do or something. That was way newer. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. There's the little monkey.
What was that?
And he and David was in there.
That was
just a few years ago.
Yeah, I feel like that was shortly either before or after the Twin Peaks return.
Yeah.
Did you see the Twin Peaks return?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
I watched it twice. I watched it the first time and I was underwhelmed. And then I waited a little while and I watched it again and I actually enjoyed it the second time through.
Right. Because you were watching Twin Peaks when it originally aired.
Actually, I had no cable. So I kept hearing, because David and Lisa were watching it.
Yeah.
And just at the point that I was ready to start watching this, when it went away.
Oh, no.
So I didn't actually get to see it until many years later on video.
I know you played the soundtrack a lot.
Yes.
Though.
Yes. I love the soundtrack.
It's called What Did Jack Do? And it's a 2017 American black and white short film written and directed by David Lynch. It's it says, in the film, a detective, played by Lynch, interrogates a capuchin monkey who possibly committed a murder.
Right, and I believe that is on YouTube.
It's on Netflix now. I don't know if it's... if they're smart, there will be all of his stuff streaming everywhere.
Yeah, I believe that happened right before the Twin Peaks return, and I was, super pumped about it because, since Inland Empire, he has not made another film.
Right.
And that came out in 2006.
Well, I feel like we were just like trying to find something to watch and came across it and was like, what the fuck is this? And then, because I know we watched it, I thought it was delightful. It's really, because he plays it totally serious.
Yeah, he plays the detective as if it's the same character from Twin Peaks.
Right.
His detective character from Twin Peaks.
Right.
Who assists Agent Cooper in the death of Laura Palmer.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
Yeah, he is definitely there.
I totally forgot about David Duchovny in drag, though. I saw a picture earlier on Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, that's right.
He's there as well.
Yeah.
And for any of you out there that have not seen Twin Peaks, maybe it passed you by when you were, back when it was airing, or if you're too young to have been around when it aired, watch it. It is an experience.
It has a lot of quotable
definitely
moments and just little scenes and stuff like that.
Right. It's like an otherworldly soap opera.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely has a very normal soap opera formula with a simple plot that a detective is trying to figure out who murdered
Laura Palmer,
a local teenager.
Yeah.
And then you also have to watch the Fire Walk with Me prequel.
Yes.
To fully understand what happened to Laura.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest watching both seasons first and then watching the prequel.
Yes. I think that would work better.
Yeah, that's definitely the way that should be done. But, do you. But yeah, it definitely has this simple soap opera, TV drama plot.
Like a murder mystery type thing.
Yeah, but all of the characters have their own quirks and their own weirdness and their own it almost feels like these people live in a town that is just some kind of psyop or insane asylum that
it's that kind of slightly apart from our world type thing. Right. It's like Agent Cooper goes down this path and what the hell's going on?
Yeah. It functions in reality in a way that if this town was just part of the mentally insane.
Well, yeah, we talked about Twin Peaks very briefly on our People Under the Stairs episode because the mommy and daddy there play a husband and wife in Twin Peaks. Ed and I can't remember her name, but she's obsessed with the curtains. The runners on the curtains and the cotton balls. It must be silent.
They have to be silent.
Yes, exactly.
With the eye patch.
What is his name? The older guy. He's in he's a Eraserhead. Who's the main guy from Eraserhead?
Oh, Jack Nance.
Jack Nance, yes, that guy. With the fish in the coffee pot and all of that stuff.
Yes, the percolator.
Yes, the percolator, yes.
Okay, but is that the actor's name or is that the...
Yes, that's the actor's name.
Pete Martell.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
That is the same guy who played the main character in Eraserhead.
Yeah, there's just... everybody in this show, in one way or another, is so unique. Also, Nadine is the wife's name. It was Ed and Nadine.
Right, yes, Nadine, of course.
I think that's part of what I like about David Lynch too. At least that was what got me going, is that so many of the same people would move from film to film to film, because that's why I started liking Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I love Kyle MacLachlan. He's fantastic. And here, do you want to do this now? It's kind of sad, but I took a screenshot of Kyle MacLachlan's Instagram post.
Yeah, I think this is important.
About the news when David died. So, yeah, this is just taken from Kyle MacLachlan's Instagram. He says, 42 years ago, for reasons beyond my comprehension, David Lynch plucked me out of obscurity to star in his first and last big-budget movie. He clearly saw something in me that even I didn't recognize. I owe my entire career and life, really, to his vision. What I saw in him was an enigmatic and intuitive man with a creative ocean bursting forth inside of him. He was in touch with something the rest of us wish we could get to. Our friendship blossomed on Blue Velvet and then Twin Peaks, and I always found him to be the most authentically alive person I'd ever met. David was in tune with the universe and his own imagination on a level that seemed to be the best version of human. He was not interested in answers because he understood that questions are the drive that make us who we are. They are our breath. While the world has lost a remarkable artist, I've lost a dear friend who imagined a future for me and allowed me to travel in worlds I could never have conceived on my own. I can see him now, standing up to greet me in his backyard with a warm smile and a big hug and that Great Plains honk of a voice. We'd talk coffee, the joy of the unexpected, the beauty of the world, and laugh. His love for me and mine for him came out of the cosmic fate of two people who saw the best things about themselves in each other. I will miss him more than the limits of my language can tell and my heart can bear. My world is that much fuller because I knew him, and that much emptier now that he's gone. David, I remain forever changed and forever your Kale. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
I know. And I think no one could have said it better. I think that encapsulates everything.
And, you know, in all fairness, I mean, I think anybody who's familiar with David Lynch, at least for me, I followed him on social media when he mentioned that he was stepping away from directing.
Right.
Due to, I believe it was some kind of cancer of some kind or sickness that was preventing him from being on set.
Right.
And I think that, at least in my experience, I was waiting for this.
I remember
this
you
is
said
one of
something
those
at the time
that, like,
about that.
Yeah, this is one of those that I was kind of expecting, maybe not this soon, but I knew something was up due to the fact that, you know, there are plenty of interviews he did where people asked him if he was going to make another film or whatever. He would never give a definitive answer, yes or no. He would just say that it's never not going to be a possibility.
Right.
If it strikes him, if the mood strikes him, if the vision strikes him, he will do it. And then to go on record and say, I'm stepping away from this, like that was just kind of
a finality there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he had emphysema, didn't he?
Emphysema? Yeah, that makes sense. This was so long ago, I don't remember the post, but yeah, he definitely smoked. But whatever the case is, that him just reaching out on social media and telling people that he's just kind of done, I knew that was just going to...
I hope
it was just a matter of time.
That's what he wanted. And, you know, it wasn't like I have no choice but to do this. I like that, you know, he spent what time he had left with family. Right. And stuff like that.
And I kind of always hoped that we were going to get one more out of him, you know, but...
I think that's usually the case with people we love. You know, because David Lynch is somebody, we were going to do an episode on him. We had talked about a whole like theme of a season being like directors, and you know, he was definitely one of the first mentioned as, you know, an episode. So
because any one of his films, any one of his TV shows, all of that, it's you can discuss these things ad nauseum, you know, into the ground. There's so much going on.
And they're so uniquely him. Like, you know,
right. And
when you're watching.
Every single person who watches a Lynch production can get something different out of it. You know, it's just one of those types of things because it is art. It is a painting. It's a moving painting. Two people staring at a painting will come up with two different explanations as to what's going on in this painting.
Well, because whatever they see is reflected within themselves and all of that.
Sure.
So, sure.
Yeah, it's a very personal experience.
Well, I know he meant a lot to you because you even started making furniture for a while because he was making furniture.
After looking at his lamps.
Yeah. Yeah. You got into a lamp phase. There was a whole Chad lamp phase.
Well, yeah, and that was another thing about him, too, is like when it came to the production of the movies, especially within Lost Highway, there are specific things that, like on the set, furniture that he made, handmade himself.
I just remember going everywhere for you trying to look for finials after figuring out what the fuck a finial was.
But yes, he for a brief moment in my life, he got me interested in making some kind of furniture.
Well, and then I think your ambitions grew beyond our budget at the time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
That's different now. I'm just saying. He inspires a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, he definitely
make a lamp for Lynch.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. Make a lamp for Lynch.
Yeah, and he definitely
Lynch.
inspired me to do something in my life. Yeah. So that's enough for me to, you know, obviously there's some importance there, at least as far as I'm concerned. Cheryl, have you seen any of his art at all? Were you aware of his furniture?
No, I had not heard anything about the furniture or the quinoa.
Out of everything you've seen out of this man, what would you say is your favorite work of David Lynch?
Well, I don't know, because there's like little quirky things out
of more moments.
It honestly is. It's like a collection, and sometimes it's the really disturbing stuff. Because because
you are my mother.
I told you what popped into my head when I read that he had died.
Yes, I didn't tell Chad that. Do you want to say what you said to me over Chad?
Well, I heard the dissonant chords and the close up of the baby from Eraserhead, gasping and covered in spots, and you are sick.
Yeah. I was like, I think I just said, "Oh, mother."
But
I think he would have liked that.
That's just one of those things that after all these years,
it's imprinted.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's right there.
It's me with the quinoas. I'm like, just the little quinoas of all the things. It's not even from a movie. It's a special feature on something,
I think probably Twin Peaks is my favorite, but it's hard because I was wanting to watch Blue Velvet again because it's been a very long time.
We have it.
Yeah, we did.
Because I remember that there were things in that movie that, especially the ear.
Yeah. There's always a moment, at least one moment in a David Lynch movie that's going to stick with you because it's just so absurd and abstract.
I know he was a big practitioner of like transcendental meditation.
Yes.
And absolutely. I really do think that he was able to isolate little moments and that like hits you at a weird, and like I said, an imprint just, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be like integral to the plot. It could be something in the background. It could be any number or you are sick,
or just the angle or the expression on a character's face.
Right.
Something like that is just unsettling and doesn't fit and you don't really know why. Other than
he was a master of dissonance, really.
Yes, well, and I think that's a lot of the very depressing, industrial, grim way that the worlds on a lot of it was presented. I think was part of it because you felt, even if the characters weren't doing anything, just you felt the tension and the oh my gosh, what is next? What's happening next? Mm-hmm. But I think one of the moments that I really liked, and I can't even explain why, and it was actually in Dune, and it was when Paul was trying to transmute the poison, the worm, and it's the black and white, and you can see the water dripping.
Oh yeah.
You remember that moment that I'm talking about
before,
and again, it has not dissonant but very otherworldly music behind it. And it's like, this is taking me somewhere else.
Somewhere.
Yes, this is it. It's not just the movie. This is taking me somewhere else.
Right.
Well, I saw a series of 2 tweets from him, or maybe it was Facebook. I don't remember. I showed you the other day because I thought it was cute. Because it was like a Friday or whatever. And he was like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it basically was like, I think I'm going to see if I'm connected to the moon. And then like 3 days later, I think I'm connected to the moon. I was like,
yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. Is like, I mean, with David Lynch, you can't just, this isn't a surface thing. Like you really have to look into the interviews. You have to look into the social media. You have to do a lot of work yourself to understand this man.
Well, and I think you get out of it what you allow yourself to be put of yourself into it.
Yeah.
As well, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if you are the sort, and I know Mom and I definitely are, to read perhaps too much into things, or the meditation aspect, or the willingness to be taken on a journey like that at that deeper level. You know what I mean, Mom?
You're willing to surrender your
self.
Well, not just yourself, but whatever anchors you in your day-to-day life. It's like what Stephen King calls the suspension of disbelief,
right?
And it requires that.
There's
I think
a snipping of threads.
Yes, you're like, okay, for right now, all of that's gone, and I am in this world trying to figure out what's going on
in the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and anyone that is aware of Lynch, as soon as you sit down to watch his movie, like you're not watching a movie, you're having an experience.
Oh,
yes, it is.
Me personally, one of my favorite things he ever did was Rabbits.
Oh, God,
which I have not seen that.
Mom, we can watch that.
Rabbits is, it is quintessentially David Lynch, in my opinion.
That's
it is
the stop motion-y thing, right?
No. This is on YouTube. It's set up as a stage play sitcom with 3 characters that are dressed in full rabbit costumes living in a house together.
That is what I was thinking of. It's like okay.
One of them is Naomi Watts. I think Justin Theroux might be one of them. I'm not, don't quote me on that, but Naomi Watts is definitely one of them. But it's on a stage made up to look like the interior of a home. And they're going about their day-to-day routines.
Yes,
there's a laugh track. There's an audience involved in all this, but they're having separate conversations together. And it's very disjointed. The entire thing is it's non sequitur after non sequitur. It's not cohesive at all. There's no plot. There's no outcome. There's no start, no finish. It's just there existing in this little place and time. And, like Cheryl had mentioned earlier, when you're watching these things, there's something about it that is unsettling. It's otherworldly. It doesn't really make sense, but it's rooted in just enough reality that you can watch it and stick with it long enough to see it out. And that's the best description I can give you for a Lynch production.
Yeah, according to the wiki, Rabbits is a 2002 series of 8 short horror web films written and directed by David Lynch. Yep. Although he referred to it as a sitcom, which totally tracks. It depicts 3 humanoid rabbits played by Scott Coffey, Laura Elena Herring, and Naomi Watts.
Okay.
Their disjointed conversations are interrupted by a laugh track, and it is presented with the tagline, "In a nameless city deluged by a continuous rain, 3 rabbits live with a fearful mystery."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just 8 short little films that kind of follow, but don't necessarily.
Yeah, and
there's not like an overarching.
No, and the whole thing is shown in its entirety on YouTube.
And
that's where I saw it.
Badalamenti did the music.
I'm pretty sure that the rabbits section, that whole thing is on the bonus features for Inland Empire.
It is. And the setting and some of the footage of the rabbits were reused in Inland Empire.
Yes, they're like they cut to it out of nowhere during that film periodically.
But yeah, he did. It says as of 2020, Lynch has been occasionally uploading the original episodes to YouTube. So go check YouTube. Just look up David Lynch.
YouTube
Rabbits.
is where I believe I originally saw it, and then I bought the Inland Empire DVD, and it was a bonus feature on that. So it's good to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do not have all of his movies. I'm missing the short films collection, which I really want to get. And there's a movie that he did for Disney, believe it or not, called The Straight Story.
Is that the guy that couldn't drive, and so he drove his tractor hooked to a trailer, like across Wisconsin or something?
Across the United States, I think is what it was he went from one side to the other, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I thought it was a man. My understanding of the film, and this is probably wrong, but because I've never seen it, but I thought it was a man that got a cancer diagnosis, and he wanted to go across the country to see his daughter. And he couldn't drive, so he took his tractor.
Did you see it, Mom?
No, I haven't. I read an article this week that mentioned rabbits and mentioned that. And I don't know, there were it was like six films, and I don't remember the rest of them, unfortunately, that a lot of people have never seen that David Lynch made.
Well, I mean...
a lot of his stuff was unique to his website, too. He did a lot of things. I mean, he has his own coffee.
Yeah. And I bet it was damn fine coffee.
It was.
I had to. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I had to.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff. There were even and I really wish I had bought this now, but you remember when there was a local it's called Horror Freak.
Yeah.
There's a local store.
Yeah, it's like a tiny little store. Super cool.
When they first opened, I heard that it was mainly movies. So we went there, and they had Eraserhead in the DavidLynch.com exclusive box, the package that you could only get from his website.
Why didn't you buy it?
I don't know. I think because we already owned it. We had the Criterion version, so I just didn't need it. But now I really wish I had bought that because I'm sure it's going to be...
You don't want to buy it now.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of his stuff is going to go up in value.
Yes.
But...
Because you have a lot of his stuff. You have been a fan of his since I've known you.
The only film of his that I'm missing, aside from the short films collection, is The Straight Story, and don't know that I will buy it. I just don't feel like that movie appeals to me. It's another one of those that's not. It wasn't written by him. He just directed it.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. It was for Disney, so I'm sure it's a very fine movie.
Well, you won't do anything that gives Disney any money whatsoever.
No, but also I don't think that this is going to include any kind of
Oddness.
Lynchian oddness.
Like the deep weirdness.
Much like I don't even feel like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Dune does definitely have those moments of Lynchian oddness in it. For sure. But it's by far one of his more commercial films ever made.
It was much more straightforward.
It's not as convoluted.
I love The Elephant Man, and John Hurt was fantastic.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, I think,
and Anthony Hopkins.
Of course. I feel like that's a movie that I think a lot of people might even be surprised to find out is a David Lynch.
Oh, but with the way the lighting was done, and
it was so commercially successful. Wasn't it commercially successful?
There were a lot of parallels to that and Eraserhead.
Because that was one of my first like movie experiences with him. Because oh god, it just breaks your heart. And I love John Hurt, anyways.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of Eraserhead-ish stuff in it, just not as weird.
Even down to the fact that it's a black and white film.
But it plays in because of
John Merrick.
Yes,
Merrick.
Thank you.
I almost said Murdoch, but yeah, John Merrick.
John Murdoch. That sounds like a cop, like a detective from long ago. John Merrick. Yeah, he was really good at putting humanity in almost like a palpable fashion in so many different pieces that he did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the story itself is heartbreaking.
I know, but I feel like it wouldn't have been as effective in someone else's hands without John Hurt and David Lynch and Anthony Hopkins. Like,
when did that movie come out? Was that early 80s or
it was
late 80s?
No, it was, we bought it in like when we lived in that mobile home before Jessica was born. So it was 1981. Yeah.
1980.
Okay. So at that time, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I believe Spielberg was around. Yeah. Scorsese was around. I mean, there were Francis Ford Coppola was probably. So there were definitely directors that could have. Francis Ford Coppola could have done a very good job on
that. But again, there is a quality to Lynch's stuff. There's a tenderness and a dissonance and a kindness, but a coldness. Like it's that both sides of things at the same time, really making you look at something.
Well, that's why you felt so tearful at the end. When he's killing himself by sleeping on a pillow.
Yeah, he knows.
And with all the angelic music around him. Yeah, it's very intentional.
Yes.
And it's very heartbreaking. And yet at the same time, you can't help but feel happy for him.
Because at least finally he'll be free.
It's a release.
Yes.
It is.
All that tension is gone. All of the,
Yeah. All the pointing fingers and the sideshow aspects and the pain, every moment was something, and now it can be nothing.
Everything that
and
man,
he sees his mother.
Yeah.
Everything that man touched had this like ethereal strangeness to it.
I can't deal with shit when people die in movies or whatever, and someone comes to get them. All the way back to fucking Watership Down.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Thousands like them.
Yes, you're tired, aren't you? Why don't you come with me?
I'm just thinking about that this week.
Yeah.
Went through that whole scenario in my head.
Anytime there's someone who shows up at the moment of death, and it's this. Okay. And so he left his body lying there, back to Hazel from Watership Down. But oh my God. Anyway, sorry, not to derail. That's just a thing for me in particular that I'm like,
like I said, there is an ethereal strangeness to everything that this man does, whether it be a film, a painting, furniture. He definitely had this way about him when he had an idea, when he had a thought that he wanted to get out there. He made it happen.
Well, and that's something.
Whether he had funding for it or not, he'd do it himself if he had to.
That's something that, as there's a reason I don't call myself an artist in any way. I don't have that ability to take what's in my head and put it on paper or put it on a screen. And to see someone who can do that, I'm not even envious. I'm in awe of. It really is. Of course, there is a fuck. I wish I could do that, but holy shit, man, you can do that. That's amazing. I will be along for your weird ride, even though I fully admit I don't understand all of his work. It's not even necessarily my flavor of stuff all the time, but
you'll never understand his original intention or purpose.
No, because he didn't answer questions
that way. Again,
sure.
He wants you to have a unique experience watching something he's created.
Sure. Yeah.
That is unique to you. He knows what it means to him, but as far as getting that, I don't think he cares.
No, what's the point of explaining? You won't really get it. You won't get it at a soul deep level. You won't get it if I explain it to you anyways. You have to feel it and get your own thing out of it.
But with him gone now, I mean, there's definitely something lost. But again, when it comes to, he was not as prolific as possibly he could have been or wanted to be. I have no idea. But like when you break it all down, I mean, aside from that Twin Peaks return and doing little segments for his website,
right? I
mean, his final movie came out in 2006. It's been a while.
Well, yeah, that's when our child was born.
Yes.
It
has been 18 years since this man has made a feature film. So, maybe.
And yet, the outpouring of love, of grief, of remembrance, of honor when he passed from all corners of everything,
yeah, I mean, that
really shows his impact.
That highlights my point, is the fact that this man did not have to make a movie every year to stay relevant.
Right.
Or pay his bills. Well,
and I think that's because he was so unabashedly and unapologetically whatever the fuck he was.
Yeah, he definitely kind of lived life by his own terms. He was one of those people that just watching interviews with him or behind the scenes footage of him on set, I mean, he enjoyed what he did.
And he had great hair.
Yeah.
He did have great hair.
I feel we'd be remiss in doing an episode about him without talking about his hair.
I think at least between the three of us, we pretty much covered, what we wanted to do here was basically pay homage to an important figure in
well, yeah, like I said, we were
lives,
already going to do an episode on him, but since he died this week, we were like, no, let's talk about him now. And Mom, I am astounded that you agreed to come on. Yes. Chad, almost, I think you were probably half joking. You were like, hey, you should invite your mom. So
no, I thought it would.
And I was like, there's no fucking way.
If there's one thing that I think connects the three of us, it would be David Lynch. That we've all had our own experiences, with Cheryl finding it out with Eraserhead to, you in Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you watched Twin Peaks around Jessica. For me, it was Lost Highway, but there was some kind of connection there that we can all agree on. And again, it's one of those things where it's not a painting. It's not music. It's not furniture. It's art. It's all one thing to him. Everything was the same. It didn't matter if he was making a desk or making a movie. It was something that he wanted to make.
And needed to be in the world.
He thought needed to be out there, and he made it happen. And I just find something very inspiring about that.
Yes.
At least in my life, that you don't have to be this, that, or the other thing. You can be all of it, and it can all mean the same thing to you. And it can mean a billion different things to a billion different people. And I think that is, we would be doing a disservice having a podcast and not discussing this.
Right.
When we have a podcast about discussing movies, film, pop culture.
Sure.
And David Lynch is definitely one of those things that had to be discussed.
You could call him a linchpin.
We could.
Of our shared experience.
I think closing this out, if you could recommend one David Lynch thing for the audience to go do, watch, see, what would it be?
To just get their feet wet, I would say Twin Peaks, but don't miss Eraserhead and Blue Velvet.
It's always going to come back to Twin Peaks for me. I realize she already said it, but looking over the cast while we were recording, I'm like, oh my God. Oh, because I did want to say one other way in which he directly influenced my life is because the three of us went to France. And one of the things I had to fucking find while we were there was a brie sandwich with butter on a baguette. Yes. And that's because of Twin Peaks. Benjamin Horne's reaction to eating that fucking sandwich. Yeah. I was like, I need that in my life. And we found it, and it was amazing.
It was delicious.
It was amazing.
Ours were not as large.
No, but that's okay.
No, it was fine.
We were on our way. I think we were walking to the Dolly Museum when we were doing that. But yeah, I had to mention that. It really depends on what kind of flavor you're into. If you want more strict tragedy drama stuff, The Elephant Man, again, is a masterpiece. God, it's so good. But Twin Peaks is such a quintessential creation for me. It's like, it's been a part of my life from the music to every bit of it. Even though when it was new, or, you know, when Mom was watching it, it was kind of I don't know what's going on, I'm going to go play. But it's kind of threaded its way throughout my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I realize that's like the cliche thing to say.
It is what it is. I mean,
it's amazing. There's a reason it's still talked about all these years later.
Sure. And for me, you know, again, Twin Peaks is a great place to start.
Sure.
Lost Highway is probably my favorite movie he did. I mean, it was the first one that I remember seeing of his. It just came out at a point in my life where I was, you know, transitioning from being a boy into a man, you know, and this kind of, it ushered in my love of film and seeking out those oddball movies such as, you know, Clockwork Orange, things like that. And if left to my own devices, had it not been for that movie, I probably would have just kept watching whatever mainstream bullshit was popular, and I would be a very boring person today.
Oh, you don't know that necessarily.
Go watch Rabbits. It's on YouTube. Go watch his short films. They're all on YouTube as well. Those are interesting. Those are very interesting. And I think there's like 28 of those that were all collected on a DVD set.
Is that lime green thing I was saying?
Possibly. I don't know what it was, but yeah, there's a collection that's on DVD that I think I had checked out from one of the libraries at some point. Whatever city we were living in, I went to the library and got it, and I wanted to buy a copy, never did, and now I probably will, because
yeah,
it's important to have those things. And but yeah, that'd be my recommendation for sure.
I just think that you watch one, and then you're going to find things from that one in whichever one you watch later. And I think after a while, it's almost like a trail of little places that you can just tell he just took his finger and stuck it in your head.
Yes.
And that little memory, that little moment doesn't have to be connected to anything else, but it stays there forever.
That's a good way of putting it. I mean, it's that this man was, you know, for better or worse, he was a very unique, wonderful, freakish weirdo. You know? And the world has definitely lost something with his passing. And
yes, but as he would say, keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole.
All right. Well, I think we can call that an episode.
Yeah.
Jess, where can people find you?
I'm Jess Moon. I'm at JHL Moon on Instagram. Don't bother looking for me anywhere else. So if you want to see pictures of the Mew, which is really most of what I post now. You know, and if you want to come say hi, that's where I am. You can also check out Shadow Spark Publishing, my publishing house, shadowsparkpub.com, at Shadowspark Pub on all fucking, so I have, you know, people do the social media. So there's things there if you want to support an independent publication house. We've got all kinds of shit there. So yeah. That'd be me.
For sure. Check that out. Cheryl, where can people find you?
Just in a dark cupboard. Or on the weekends, I'm over here at Jessica's.
That's true. That is true. But it would be a cupboard close to the ground because you are
especially these days. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can find me. I'm out there. I'm on Instagram, Facebook.
You are out
if
there.
you want to interact with me, the best place to do that is on Instagram. Probably with the podcast at The Pretty Little Podcast. We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@theprettylittlepodcast 69420. So if you want to go there and check it out, and just see a still image of whatever thumbnail I decide to make for this episode. For now,
but other things might be on the horizon.
Yeah, we do have plans for the future. I don't have anything else.
No?
So until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye.